Well, welcome to 10th grade students, finally to our 10th grade history team. I'm sorry it's taken a little while for me to get this up and going. I've been a little inundated with helping everybody else over the last few days and over the weekend and even this morning. But finally we get this going, and so I do apologize that it took me a little bit. So I am going to extend the deadline for our stuff that was supposed to be due today, so I'm going to extend that out to Wednesday so that you have plenty of time to do it. So anyway, welcome. We're going to try and do an online live session later on at some other point in time, and so we'll look forward to doing that at some point together. I'll let you know when that's going to be. But for today, I just wanted to give the opportunity for you to kind of see what we're doing and for you to be able to follow along with me a little bit. So if you've got your team open, which obviously you must have, otherwise you wouldn't know how to get to this, and you've got here the assignment for today, Monday, March 23rd, which I have, as I mentioned, it's now due on the 25th. So there's a couple of things you need to do. I encourage you to open the Renaissance art notes, which are just right down here, and we're just going to take a quick look at those, and obviously you're watching this video, so that's this, and then after this you can go ahead and click on this YouTube video here and take a look at that painting by Leonardo da Vinci and Verrocchio. So before we do that, or you'll do that on your own, but let me take a look at the notes with you. We don't need to go through all of these, but particularly wanted to just focus in a little bit on some of the major themes and characteristics of the Renaissance art period. We are going to be looking at a number of different art pieces, and then later on I will probably identify this and give you instructions on Thursday, but on Thursday, or whenever our next period is, I don't remember, it's either Thursday or Friday, I'll be giving you instructions as to how you're going to choose your own piece of art from the Renaissance period and be able to dissect it and analyze it and all that kind of stuff. But in order to do that, you need to be able to know what the key themes are of the Renaissance period. So just looking at my notes here, as you can tell, we are wanting to contrast the Renaissance period with what came before. And what came before obviously depicted the realities mostly of just the spiritual world. We look at the medieval art and all we see is Mary, Mary, Mary all over the place. And in fact, when you go on Grand Tour, you're going to see an enormous amount of paintings of Mary in the very, very early medieval period, early Renaissance period. And as we get into the latter Renaissance period, that shifts away from just Mary and being inclusive of a lot of different things, particularly the secular world. And so you see here in my notes, the Renaissance art shifted its focus to appreciate and even glorify the secular world and human pursuits, because all of a sudden those became valid. Remember, the Renaissance is about revitalizing the human spirit and putting value back on the individual. And so it's not just Mary who has value and worth, it's all of us who have value and worth. In terms of some of the breaking of the traditions, the artistic traditions were certainly overshadowed during the Renaissance period. As a result, this first bullet point here, the Renaissance art is going to emphasize the physical world a lot more. In the medieval world, you don't see any paintings of trees and sky and buildings and all that kind of stuff, whereas in the Renaissance period you see a lot more emphasis that's going to be placed on the physical world. Secondly, you're not just going to have the church that's responsible for providing the funding for the art. You're going to have a lot of secular patrons that are going to pay for art. And when we start having, ordinary people that are paying, wealthy merchants, particularly the Medici family, they're going to want, all kinds of paintings in their palaces and in their villas and all that kind of stuff. And they're not just going to want religious stuff there. They want paintings of beautiful scenery. They want paintings of maybe things that they own, such as their palaces and vineyards that are portrayed into the landscape and stuff like that. Thirdly, medieval art primarily put the focus on God and church, whereas Renaissance began to move the shift towards the artist, towards the human being, towards other people, and so it becomes less spiritual in oftentimes. There's a big focus obviously on classical mythology, because we are returning to the age of Greece and Rome in our philosophy, and so you're going to see that in the art. And lastly, you're going to see here that the Renaissance art provided a much more realistic approach to art. You're going to see a three-dimensional focus, as we looked last week at some of the ways in which that three-dimensional art brought things to a much greater degree of realistic life. The use of shadow, the use of the sense, or at least the sense of movement that is portrayed in the paintings, that brings the subjects to life. And again, that is to kind of emphasize the sense that we're living in the here and now, not in the eternity, but we're enjoying the present moment, and we're enjoying the world around us, and the artistic expression sought to portray that. Okay, so those are some of the key areas that you're going to want to take note of. So one of the things we're going to be doing as we go on from here is being able to identify these particular characteristics of Renaissance art as you're looking at individual pieces. So with that, I'll end there, and I hope that you enjoy looking at some of the pieces that I'm presenting in the YouTube videos that you're going to watch, and also I'll be giving you instructions as to how you are going to be identifying some pieces that you particularly enjoy, and you're going to be writing about that, but that's later on this week. All right, take care. Look forward to seeing you online. See ya.